everything they need for computer chips. So it's like the Remington paintings to get us into the Spanish War in 1898, Spanish-American War. They just say, oh my gosh, there's a villain, we've got to invade, and have the liberals, who in my experiences, there's more wars and more warmongering when the liberals are in than the so-called conservatives. And there's this giant push in the public schools and through social media to have all the young kids giving money and crying and saying, kill Coney, and George Clooney comes out, and all of them. Well, I'm going to say this. Clooney may be a useful idiot, I don't know, but I've studied Angelina Jolie enough to know that she is a UN delegate, a UN envoy. She's part of the Council on Foreign Relations that openly calls for genocide in world government in Africa. And she knows what she's doing. I've tracked her for about 6 years, and I can tell you unequivocally that by her measurement, because she's in the news saying arrest Joseph Kony, invade to get Joseph Kony, who's like a phantom menace like bin Laden. Nobody knows he's even alive. I can say under her criteria and under the UN's criteria, she and the UN and all of them should be up for war crimes. And I have all the articles at Infowars.com in the blurb and the video report I did. Arrest Angelina Jolie for war crimes, Kony 2012. Listen to this. These are links to even the New York Times admitting all of this. Related. Armed troops burn down homes, kill children to evict Ugandans in name of global warming in Uganda. Revealed, British corporation mass murders Ugandans in UN-sanctioned land grab. That's what's going on there. They just want to say, we're looking for Kony and have a genocide of a few million more people, which goes on all the time, while all the so-called liberals are cheering it on.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. And, of course, that was a clip of Alex Jones talking about the Kony, but also, most importantly, Council on Foreign Relations and Angelina Jolie, the womb raider again, and how they are using her, again, to push their agenda, as well as, again, as I talked about, Mirad, which is one of the companies, or the major company right now. That case is going before the Supreme Court and will be heard by the Supreme Court. So they will vote on whether you give total control of the United States citizens and the future of the United States citizens' bodies and the right to reproduce to a corporation. And, of course, it was the Supreme Court that said that these corporations are now individuals. So keep your eyes open. But these are some of the distractions, as well as I said, that are going on. And if time permit, I'll come back and talk about some of the local distractions. But let me open up the lines. Take your thoughts, questions, comments as we're talking about some of these distractions at 410-761-1592. You can get in on the conversation. 410-761-1592. You can get in where you fit in where you get in. I know it is the Memorial Day weekend. Most of you just happy to be off from the plantation. You don't know the difference between Memorial Day and Labor Day. Slave don't ask when or why, he or she just do or die. And I'm talking black slave, brown slave, red slave, yellow slave, white slave. You just happy to be off today and to be off on Monday. You don't know the difference between most of you. If it don't apply, let it fly. But if it fit, we cannot acquit, in the words of Johnny Cochran. With that, let me come to the lines. 410-761-1592. If you got some stories you want to share in terms of these distractions, and if I get time, I'll talk about Alonzo. If not, I got plenty of time tomorrow to talk about that, as well as the city or the state opens up. Rocky Gap State's fourth casino opens for business. It's not the fourth one. Annapolis in the Annapolis State House. The Annapolis State House, or the Annapolis Mansion of your governor, is number one. City Hall is number two, as we're finding out. The Baltimore City Public Schools system over there at North Avenue at the Command Center under Donzo, that's number three, as we're now finding out when it comes to casinos. Then everybody else comes after them. And, of course, I should have said at the top of the show, it's 12 o'clock. Do you know where your mayor is? Do you know where your city council president is or are? I believe they are in Las Vegas, Sin City. You know what they say, what goes on in Vegas stays on, and stays in Vegas. I understand they may be attending a wedding of Sean Malone and Lisa Harris Jones. We're going to have to talk about that. Understand that they may be attending the funeral of Sean Malone. He just took Plus Jones' woman. Damn. But let me come to the lines, man. 410-761. How does a white man, what does he fits? What does he fits from Scandal, PJ? I'm going to have to ask that. What does he fits? Is that Olivia and Fitz? That's another topic for another day. But let me come to the line, man. As we're looking at some of these scandals, looking at these distractions. Forget the scandals, the distractions. And did you know about this immigration bill? Have you been following this Keystone oil pipeline bill? Have you been following the path of this hurricane or tornado? And what will happen to the people in Oklahoma? Will they find themselves in these, again, as I've said before, fusion centers, these FEMA camps, these re-education camps, and others, because they're after most of humanity in this city, this state, and this country. If you haven't figured that out by now, man, why do you think your fees are going up and everybody else's fees are going down? When I'm talking about these corporations, these nonprofits and others, non-governmental or no good godly organizations, these NGOs, but they're sticking it to the people, black, brown, red, yellow, and white. They're sticking it to the masses while they looking out for the classes and the asses in terms of that 1% and their assets. With that, let me come to the lines, 410-761-1592. Good afternoon, caller. You're on the State of the City, talking about distractions.
Yes, good afternoon, Brother Durham. How are you?
I'm good, brother. Have you been keeping up with some of these distractions, man?
Hey, Brother Durham, man, it's real interesting, brother, that you brought up the case that's going to be before the Supreme Court in reference to corporations as an individual. I find that strikingly odd because I came across some information recently where over 200 years ago, corporations were declared as a person.
That's right. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I mean, so, brother, once again, you always putting a hammer to the nail, brother, and I thank you for bringing this up because we, as a community, we need to recognize that when we do go against these corporations, we're not going against a corporation, we're going against someone who's declared as a person.
Yes, sir. Well, we may have to register ourselves as corporations and register our families as corporations in the state of Delaware, like we know the United States of America is not a country but a corporation as well, right?
Hey, Brother Darren, and also, man, by you hit me off with the Keystone Pipeline, but I did some research myself.
Yes, sir.
Once again, man, hey, thanks for the information, brother. Keep it up.
Quite welcome, brother. Thank you very much. Now, again, 410-761-1592. You can get in where you fit in where you get in on the conversation. Good afternoon, caller. You on the State of the City.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much for bringing about Monsanto and Keystone. And people, you have got to take action on this.
Yes.
My family was from Alabama, Anniston, Alabama.
Right.
1990s, we know what happened in there.
Yes.
Made it a mess, and uninhabitable for people to live in.
That's right.
PBTs in their body, no more than, I think, 1,000th of a milligram, or it's just ridiculous on how tiny it can go and infect a whole community, neighborhood, and such like that.
That's right.
And that demonstration with Monsanto, they need to be charging, marching, and circling around with the senators, the winch that nuts and messed through.
Barbara Mikulski.
Yes,
Senator Barbara Mikulski, right here from Maryland.
And then the staging that's going on. For example, down in London, I can't help but know that that's a staging.
Oh, that's
staging. You're going to have somebody cover that by camera and all of that.
Right.
And then, of course, next thing you know, the next day is where you're talking about with the drones and the lap dance talk that, we're hearing about song and dancing with Obama.
Yes.
And I'm so glad that my friend, however she worked it in there to get in there, Medea Benjamin.
Right. They stood up she wasn't heckling him. She took a revolutionary stand is what that was.
Yeah, she always takes a revolutionary stand. This sister went down there and confronted Posada Corrales and many other cases and issues like that.
That's right.
And a lot of people don't know that she has Arab descent in her.
Right.
So she sees what's happening in the Middle East and where she has to take that stand, and that's what we must do as well, too.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for bringing that to us.
Quite welcome, my sister. Peace. On the mill. And with that, of course, we'll take more of your calls, 410-761-1592. But here's an article from RT News. Environmental genocide. Native Americans quit talks over Keystone Pipeline. Again, leaders from 11 Native American tribes stormed out of a meeting with the U.S. federal officials in Rapid City, South Dakota, to protest the proposed Keystone Pipeline, which they say will lead to environmental genocide. Native Americans are opposed to the 1,170-mile Keystone XL project. And for you brothers that read XL magazine, I'm not talking about that, but let me keep going. A system to transport tar sands oil from Canada and the northern United States to refineries in Texas for various reasons, including potential irreversible damage to sacred sites, pollution, and water contamination. Although the planned pipeline would not pass directly through any Native American reservations, tribes in proximity to the proposed system say it will violate their traditional lands and that the environmental risk of the project are simply too great. Russ Gertling, CEO of TransCanada, the company that hopes to build the pipeline, has promised in the past that the Keystone XL would be the safest pipeline ever built. You know that old song, Sunshine Anderson, I believe, heard it all before, but let me keep going. In an effort to ease their concerns, officials from the Department of State, or the State Department, which is John Kerry, agreed to meet with tribal leaders on Thursday in the Hilton Garden in Rapid City, Michigan. Before the talks could begin, however, tribal leaders walked out angered that the government had sent what they considered a low-level representative. In a press conference following the walkout, tribal leaders took turns criticizing the project as well as the Obama administration. I will only meet with President Obama. Brian Brewer, president of the Ogallala Sioux tribe, told the Rapid City Journal. Other mentioned environmental concerns with the proposed pipeline, which echoed the concern of the environmental groups across the country here. And I could go on to read more and more about that, but you should read it, learn more about, again, the Keystone Oil Pipeline. And if you followed the path of that tornado, it's coming down where they've already built the first part of the pipeline. This is the next part, or the next phase of the pipeline, the southern end of the pipeline, almost similar to what they did in, again, Afghanistan, following September the 11th, 2001. That, again, before that, they had met with members of the Taliban and promised them, of course, a carpet of gold or carpet of bombs, whether they went along with what it is that they wanted regarding that oil pipeline, which I believe is supposed to be a 900-mile pipeline. That, and if you get a chance, this is what your sons and daughters are being sent to the Middle East. Read and learn about the Taipei pipeline. That pipeline which is supposed to run through Afghanistan, run through Turkmenistan, supposed to run through Pakistan, run through Iran and Syria. And that's why Russia now has sent 12 more warships over there to the Middle East. But you knew, while you were being distracted, war is right at your door. War is at your door. They've had major war game operations going on for the last 2 weeks over there in the Gulf of Hormuz. But your news media haven't bothered to tell you and educate you about this. And I'm talking black, brown, red, yellow, and white in terms of the news media. They got you talking more about Obama speaking at Bowie, the Michelle Obama, and these two elitists, and then her husband speaking again at, where was that he spoke? At Morehouse. And he couldn't bring up about the rapes. He's speaking in Annapolis today, and I bet you he won't say something to the Navy about all that sexual abuse going on in the military. He won't open his mouth and condemn that. So therefore, he says to the women in the military that's been raped and abused, says to the men that's in the military been raped and abused. Don't ask, don't tell. But yet he can go down there and condemn and talk down and beat up, as he will do, I'm sure, over these next couple of weeks between now and Father's Day. And some of you have been ignorant enough to invite him to your events and get all excited about it. But I know it's, Memorial Day weekend, and it's family reunion time. But I ask you to be careful as I saw this article about 5 men. I don't know if they were black men, brown men, red men, yellow men, or white men. Makes no difference to me. 5 men that died in a van. They were from Baltimore. I don't have their names in front of me, but they were coming apparently from some type of church conference that they participated in. And we just ask you to send up some prayers to their family. If you want to raise some money for somebody, don't raise money for the people in Oklahoma. How about these 5 men whose family now have to bury them? Their fathers, their uncles, their brothers, their nephews. And so they died, of course, in a tragic accident, I believe, in Ohio, en route to Philadelphia, traveling, doing, again, the work of some good Christian brothers. So I ask you to keep their family in prayer. Find out if you know their family and raise some funds for them. But send them some prayer, send them some comfort, send them some positive synergy of energy. And as I said, let me come back to the lines, because I'll get back into this information about Andre Alonso. But, I mean, what's new, man? What's new? As I've said before, this is no more than vindication regarding this article in yesterday's Sun paper and on the news. Audit fault schools over the use of federal funds. Oh, and who will get left carrying the bag on this one? Will it be Tisha Edwards? It ain't gonna be Michael Sarbanes, because white folk down in this city, the ones that's in decision-making position, they protect those that got that complexion connection. They protect those that got the complexion connection, but they usually like to eat at Ruth Chris Steakhouse, so they like their meat brown or dark, if you know what I mean, Tisha Edwards. If you know what I mean, some of them other ones down there that don't think they won't serve you up and bring you out and say you're the one to blame for, again, embezzlement and crimes of omission and commission. Same reason the feds or the state so-called prosecutor went after Sheila Dixon. Where's the state prosecutor on this case? But he was O'Malley's state prosecutor appointed. Where's Rod Rosenstein on this case? Where's the state's attorney, Greg Bernstein, on this case, which I'll get into tomorrow, as we're talking about these Federal Title I money, and who is it